Hey, this is Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, the host of Consciousness of Economics TV show, and we are currently on the Project Camelot TV network. And my show is on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, and we showcase ceremony, shamanism, alternative medicine, traditional medicine, food as medicine, farming of all types and sorts, and environment. So hopefully you will tune in on Thursdays and watch us live. Right now it's around 8:15 in the morning, and we are doing a pre-record for Thanksgiving Day, November 24th. This show will air live on that day, which is kind of nice. So we're here in the morning being giggly and silly and having a good time. So my guest today is Nathan Standing Bear. And he has been walking the native path, the red road, or the path, or whatever you want to call it, for quite a bit of time. And he, like me, is white. So we nowadays are going out and teaching information to other people in kind of a rainbow, warrior way, rainbow teachings, teaching all nation, bringing people to the path as much as they like. And Nathan has been actually creating and opening lodges. So he annually has lodges all over the place, and he opens them up to people. And they're pretty fun. They're like a camp out. Last year I met Nathan at his Grass Valley Lodge, the elementals, the ceremonies of the elementals, water, earth, air, and fire. Each day is a different ceremony. And I was lucky enough to bring one of my favorite characters, Marshall Jack, a Paiute elder, who does the water wheel ceremonies up there. And that's how I met Nathan. We were supposed to stay for one afternoon for the ceremony. We ended up staying for 3 days because it was such a great, wonderful time. So anyway, I'm going to introduce Nathan Standing Bear. Hello, Nathan. Good morning.
Good morning, Bridget.
And Nathan is has no idea, if he's going to be able to talk to us for an hour and a half, so, but we're going to take what we can get out of it. So we wanted to play a song this morning, the Sunrise Song, which is one of Nathan's favorite songs. And I believe that you recently learned that it was Dine culture. Dene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Navajo.
Navajo. Okay, so do you want to talk a little bit about the song before we play it, or how you came about it, your history with it?
Well, it was taught to me many years ago, and I was told that it was intertribal, and I didn't know the origins of it, but I was at a ceremony in Montana, and an old Navajo man came almost teary-eyed and said, thanked me for singing it. It was a very old song, and he hadn't heard it in a long time, and it was very special to him. So that's when I found out it was Dene, and I don't know the words or what they mean, but it's been my sunrise prayer for many years. So I just sing it. I live in my truck, and I sing it every morning, basically, when I wake up, when the sun's coming up, and that's all.
Okay, so producer, play that song. Hello, producer. Oh. The song's being played. We just can't hear it. All right, so we hope you enjoyed that Sunrise song. You can find that Sunrise song by Nathan Standing Bear, who posted it on, put it up there on the SunCloud, where you can listen to all kinds of different music. A lot of Native people put their music up there, so there's a lot of really, really good stuff. So anyway, now we're gonna. So Nathan, before I have you go into your background, maybe we could have a little bit of a conversation kind of to explain to people kind of where Native people's songs come from. And like I know exact with the Paiutes, because I'm, that's what I'm surrounded by in Nevada, is that their songs were their language. They had a sing-songy language, and their language, their songs are how they spoke to plants and rocks and water and the sky, and communicated with the world around them. Would you like to add anything to that?
Well, we call them songs. Lakota call them Olowan. They're really prayers, and it's a way that they talk to Creator. And so that's the main thing I have to say is their prayers, and it's a wonderful way to pray. It's really really soulful and really kind of gets you in touch with your heart as you're reaching out and speaking to Creator.
Yeah, it's a super great way to pray and communicate, with everything that is around you. And it means you have to also kind of slow down your life, because if you're going to be communicating with the world around you or the Creator or whatever on a daily basis, you have to slow down and kind of feel those moments when it's time to do that kind of stuff, when it's time to actually give those songs and prayers and be grounded and have your intention, in your heart, so that it becomes from your heart, not just a song that you sing. That's kind of like what I've learned, because I'm kind of on speed dial all the time, so I have to like really slow down and pay attention. Be like, okay, now it's time for this. Okay, let me get there. So
that's great. It does give you an opportunity to get in touch. We have an internal dialogue. It's always kind of racing ahead of us, but the song, I agree, helps you slow down and reflect and get in touch with what it is you're doing. So I agree.
Yeah, for me, it's good because it goes against, white training. Your white training is always like, like you said, one step ahead and running and ambition and money and paying bills and more stuff. And then you start following the path and you start to unravel that more and more. And so one of the things too, like I try to explain to people about what, having studied a lot of traditional shamanism, is that it's more about where I'm at, less about what I'm doing. That amplifies it and activates it, whether it's drumming or prayers or using medicine or fire, lots of different medicines, ceremonies, personal ceremonies, group ceremonies, but mostly it's about where I'm at, where my intention is at that moment, and letting go of all that outside world dialogue. And early on, when I was young, my teachers would teach me things that I thought were completely stupid. I thought, well, this is going to be just a total waste of time. Like they're playing a joke on me. This is what you're going to do, like the 7 direction prayer and stuff. I thought, well, what the heck is this going to help me with? And then down the road, 25 years later, I was doing it and I turned into a giant energy vortex. And I was like, oh, okay, now I understand why I'm supposed to do it every day to activate my energetic field, kind of a thing. So in your past and walking the road, do you see places in your life where you've had to slow down, or you've done practices for a while until you really understood what the practice were about, to kind of change some of the overbearing, processes that I, as a white person, I know for sure I have them. I'm not going to put it on you, but I've had to work extra hard.
Yeah, I don't really, that doesn't resonate with me that much. Usually, there's been periods of my life where I've been more attentive and more focused on my spiritual path than other times. But when I've been immersed in spiritual practice, I'm pretty much completely there and doing that. Thank God.
Good answer. That's a good answer. No. Okay, so do you want to talk to us a little bit about your background? And you can go as far back as you want to, and talk to us about teachers and stories and things of how you got there and how you got to now.
Sure. Well, I think I was a seeker and always felt spiritual and always looking for a way to practice that. And, in my teens, I studied different religions and I tried different churches, and I was seeking. I'd always had an affinity for native lore, and that was inspired by my father, who also had a big interest in it, and he was affected by some teachers that he had in his childhood. And so I think that made an imprint with me. I always felt very close to nature too, as my father did. That's something we had in common. And like I said, I was seeking for quite a while, and I think I was about 20 when I was hitchhiking around the country. I was a hippie. I think I still am a hippie, and but I was hitchhiking around the country in like 1970, and in my journey, I went through Mankato, Minnesota. And in my travels, I'd often go to college towns and drop into classes. So I dropped into psychology class there, and the professor became a friend of mine. His name was Eber Hampton, and he's a Chickasaw Indian and really a wonderful man. And he took me into my first sweat lodge. And the moment that I got on my hands and knees and crawled into that womb, I knew that I'd found my path. And so that really solidified my course. I mean, I'm still interested in other spiritual practices, Buddhism and Taoism, and anything, any place I can find some truth that touches my heart, I take that to me. But the Red Road is very, very, very dear to me, and it's kind of my path. I know there are Native people who resent non-natives walking this way, but in my studies I've also found that holy men of all the traditions that I've touched upon around the planet have predicted a time when the medicine that the indigenous people carry was going to be shared with all people, and that it was crucial to the survival of our species. And this is that time. This is the time that they were talking about. So I've been really grateful. I'm really honored, and that I've had a lot of Native teachers and who've encouraged me to walk this way, and since then have encouraged me to share the things that I've learned with other people.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat, and I'm super grateful for the ones that have reached out and been kind and gentle to me, and helped me along my way for sure, and giving me the courage to continue on, because sometimes it can be rough for non-native people when you show up to certain ceremonies, and there's like a serious conflict. But I think by us having also the courage to keep going, that we're trying to be there in good faith and be in our heart, and so that it helps to bring them about to their heart, so that they can, my Paiute friend always says, so, we always want to pray for everybody to have a change of heart, like in a good way, in the right way. So hopefully people have been praying for me out there to have a change of heart for a long time. So I continue the prayers to have a change of heart. But like you, I think there's, that I'm glad to kind of be involved in everything, in the prophecies and the quickening, that's happening, and the preparation that these amazing people, medicine men and shamans and people who have actively gone against their ways to come out into the public and teach us, and show us the way, and in a really kind, loving, compassionate way. And so I'm super grateful for that. And I'm grateful for meeting you too. So how did you want to talk about, I know that sometimes people just tell this to the public, 20 years ago, even up to like maybe a year ago, we were not allowed any kind of ceremony to photograph or videotape or even talk about to people who weren't participating at the ceremonies or at that particular ceremony. And so actually having discussions about this openly is huge. And there are a lot of medicine men now that allow photographing and video camera at their ceremonies and lodges, because they tell us that we can't keep secrets anymore. We have to teach all the information, and we have to teach the ways, and we have to show people, so that the days of being secretive are done. So, so you can talk about however in depth that you want to talk about it, because I know with my work, too, there's some things about ceremonies and people I worked with in the past that I just don't discuss openly still. I'm still working on a lot of those issues. But do you want to talk about
Sure.
whatever you can about your vision quest, about how you got to start doing these lodges and when you got what you're doing now, what you were told to do now or asked to do?
Okay, well, let me address what you were just saying, too. This is a very controversial issue, and even in my own circles, people are scrutinizing how I behave and how much I reveal about ceremonies. And the traditional people, the tradition has been for a long time that you hold these things very private and in secret. My primary teacher, the person who gave me the altar that I get to travel with, his name is Bob Center, who's moved on to the other world now. He came from that tradition, but he was changing. And he allowed photographs of our ceremonies, even with the chanupa in the picture, the altar in the picture, and some of the family that he and I are associated with find that, I take issue with that. But personally, I'm so grateful that he did, because my favorite images of him are he and I in ceremony, and they're very precious. And I know just even the photographs have touched other people's lives too. So he was in transition, and he allowed more openness like that. I know the Paiute gentleman you're talking about, my dear friend Marshall, and who has a clear opinion that those times are past, and that we need to be open, we need to bring everything out in the daylight, we need more and more people to be exposed to these wonderful traditions, and I lean in that direction. I do feel I'm very self-conscious about how I walk. I don't want to offend people, but I do believe it's a new day, and actually the visions that were given to me and the directions that I've been given was to share these ways with as many people as possible. That it was really crucial to spread the word. There are certain things that happen that are personal and private that I hold close, but I am of the mind to open things up. And I've been exposed to a lot of elders, a lot of teachers, a lot of holy men and women who are coming to this opinion as well. I was, several years ago, I was at a gathering called Return of the Ancients, and there were practitioners, indigenous practitioners from all over the world, South America, Africa, Maoris, Aboriginal, and all the different tribes here. And they all had the same message. And sometimes it had to be translated 3 times to get it in English. But they were all spoke the same thing. And they talked about this being the day that their prophets had talked about. And that it was crucial to open up and share these ways with everybody. And I also like to point out that we all have indigenous roots. No matter what our ancestry is, we all had, our people in our lineage squatted around the fire and told stories and felt the oneness with the connection with the planet, with everything in nature. It's like nobody is outside of that circle. We're all one family in that way. We all have ancestors who walk this earth, and we're really in tune with nature. So.
Yeah, we have those memories in us. Once you start activating those memories and you start going to the ceremonies, it's like, it's not a fight, it's just, you feel like this is the way you should have been living all along. And then you have to go home. Yeah, and then you have to go home and figure out, okay, how am I going to adjust my life in order to have more of this, more being one with earth and water, and just how you walk along those things. You look at them as real living energies and beings, and you don't trespass pass on them as much. You really start to respect the things and the resources and everything around you. And so you really changes everything about you. And sometimes this path leads to, trusting, when you have to be on the road and you have to live in your car and Spirit wants you to go over here and you don't have any money. And so you put the last $5 in your gas can and, and you just go and you see what happens. And then people help you in rest stops or whatever else. They're like, oh, where are you going? Oh, here's $20, here. And then you get there and you get where you're supposed to go. And so sometimes when this path or the red road or whatever you want to call it calls you, you have to give it 100%, and you have to let go of your preconceived notions of having a house and having a lot of things that don't really matter. And Spirit will give you those things, not on your timeline, but when you need them, and after you've stepped already onto that path, once you've accepted the mission, then the help will come. But if you go back and forth about whether you should do it or not, then the help's not going to come to you. It's not going to be activated through action. And that's
very true.
The one thing they taught me, is that you have to activate it, not just pray about it, but you have to actually walk the talk. I prayed about it, the talk, and now I got to walk it.
I agree. It's a leap of faith. But if you put your whole heart into it, doors open. It's really miraculous. I don't know where the next door is going to be, and it's hard not to worry about it a little bit. But time after time, it happens. Doors open, and so. Yeah,
well, I love when we were. So Nathan, when I met him, I was with Marshall Jack, and Marshall Jack, he likes to talk. He's a Paiute elder, and he's an unbelievable storyteller. That man has stories from all cultures, all tribes, all walks. And so he likes to talk to people. He likes to teach people. He likes to, very kind and gentle being. And so I ended up on the last day helping Nathan pack up his whole lodge, basically, because people had left, and he had this, how many days you'd been there? 6 days. You get there, set up, then pack it up. But he has this huge storage shed on this one property he uses, and all of that stuff has to come up and be set up. There's teepees, sweat lodge, everything. There's that whole kitchen, refrigerator. There's a shower, propane on-demand shower. He just goes for it. But every lodge he has it already there on the land usually, so that all he has to do is set it all up. And then sometimes, because of the work he's doing, he ends up having to set the whole thing up himself or take it down himself. So I got to hang out with Nathan and listen to his stories about, having faith. And one of the stories he was telling was last year, this is in 2014, at the elemental ceremony, the ceremonies of the elements, that, he got down to thread, bared tires. And he has a big truck, that he has to pull stuff and everything it's a big production to set up these lodges. It's a big gift that he's doing for people to set them up, because it is a lot of work. And it's all donation based or help based. He does it from his heart, and then he trusts Spirit to take care of him. And he was telling me about getting worried about what he was going to do with his tires and having to go on this long journey. And at the last minute, this man stepped up from one of the ceremonies and actually paid for his tires. So he could keep on, he could get to the next place without having any problems. So that was a great story, for me, and trusting that, even something really expensive could come along, the help for it, to get you to the next place, that Spirit doesn't really forget, but it may be at the last minute.
Yeah. That was just somebody that I knew. It wasn't even anybody that had been to the ceremonies. It's just somebody that was moved to help. Sometimes you're right at the edge of your faith and your wonder. It's like, I'm doing what I'm at. Spirit, I find, in vision and things like that, will tell you what to do. and sometimes very clear. And in my case, the few visions that I've had have been very clear and precise. But Spirit doesn't always tell you how to go about it. It'll tell you what your mission is, but it won't tell you, how am I supposed to do that? My feeling is that if you believe in these ways, and I do, and you're given that vision, then if you don't pursue it, then what's the point? My whole life would be pretty meaningless if I didn't pay attention to those visions. So.
Yeah. So you want to talk about, maybe how you've gotten those visions?
Okay.
Because there's different ways that we can go get a vision. We can go to ceremony for a long time. We can do fasting. We can do vision quests. There's lots of different ways. Do you want to talk about how you've gotten your visions on the path?
Yeah, the epitome of my spiritual practice is going on the hill. And, the first time that ever happened for me, it was kind of a fluke. I was traveling around the country and was with two other people, and we were going to go up somebody loaned us a cabin way up just below the tree line in the Rocky Mountains. And so the three of us were going to go there for a month, and we were macrobiotics, so we stocked up enough food for 3 people for a month. Well, the other 2 people went back to the East Coast thinking they'd be back, and they didn't come back. And so I ended up staying there with their dog for 3.5 months, snowed in the Rockies. It was a big winter, and it was off-grid. The chainsaw died the very first storm. And so it was kind of a life and death experience for me. I was young and stupid, so the first couple of storms would pass, and I'd shovel off the deck, and there'd be beautiful sunny days, and I'd go out there and read and meditate and do yoga. But then, comes tumbling up the canyon would be another storm. And so I found myself out there in the worst weather getting firewood until I got smart. And by the time I left, I think I left 3.5 cords of hand cut just with an axe, split wood. So I learned that lesson after a while. But it was a wonderful experience of being alone in nature like that. And so I took to doing that regularly. When I moved to the Tahoe area, I found a place that the minute I got there, it was like the center of the universe for me. It was my sacred spot. So I would go there sometimes twice a year and spend 3 or 4 days fasting and just being close to nature and praying. I didn't call it Vision Quest. I really wasn't that educated in the native terminology or anything like that. I was just drawn to do it. And for almost all those experiences, it was just basically a self-improvement. I would go and the metaphor I use is like taking a very highly polished spiritual mirror, put it right in my face. I see myself and how I behaved and treated people, or foolish or unkind things that I've done, and really take a good look at myself and kind of tear myself down, and scrutinize my behavior, and until I was pretty much self not happy with myself. And then I would start building myself back up again, typically, and I'd start thinking about good qualities I have, or good deeds that I'd done. And I'd think about people that I admire and how I would like to assimilate part of their goodness into myself. Their good traits I would like to emulate and be more like that. And I'd walk back down the hill just a little bit better person. And of course, backslide a little and be drawn to go back up. And so I did that many times. Like I said, I didn't really call it a vision quest. But then all of a sudden, I started getting visions, and really clear ones. And the first one that was really major was I was told to work in benefit of Lake Tahoe, the environment. And I was a very private person. I would say a hermit, kind of. That was my tendencies. I did have family and friends, but I'd like a lot of time alone. And the last thing in the world I want to do is, study environmental documents, go to speaking meetings, or anything like that. But but anyway, well, as I said, if you're given a vision, if you don't act on it, then what's the point? So I determined that there was an issue that I'd been reading about in the paper, that there were two sides of the argument that were being discussed, but there was another view that hadn't been even expressed. And I thought, well, I would just take that to the right people and just present another idea, another notion, not expecting to change the outcome or anything like that, but just that I felt like if I did that, I would satisfy that vision and I could go on with my selfish existence. So I studied up on the issues, and I read documents, and went to a couple of meetings, and then I went to the appropriate person and presented that idea, and I was patronized. I was kind of like patted on the head, okay, we'll take care of this, And the guy had a big plastic smile, and I remember walking out of the room thinking, this is not going to be that easy. And it wasn't. I spent almost 22 years working on behalf of Tahoe's environment. I wasn't a member of League to Save Lake Tahoe or the Sierra Club. I was basically just one dedicated person, and I studied the documents thoroughly to the point I'd be able to cite what page, and I'd be able to cite their own scientists, and it became very effective. It's amazing what one person can do with a lot of dedication and work. And I prevented some really stupid things from happening. Self-employed. I had a construction crew that I could, I could adjust my schedule and go to the meetings if I wanted to, but it was very difficult, and it was getting more and more so. And if I took a few months off, things would backslide. I took constant pressure, and it finally got to the point where, I had enough of that. So I went back on the Hill, and I was given a message to work in the spiritual realm. And that was a big relief. And shall I go on?
Yeah, go ahead. It was a big relief. I know fighting the man is not so easy.
And God bless the people that do it. It is really good work. Yep. It's very difficult. And so not long after that, I went to a Naraya ceremony up in Montana. And it's a nighttime ceremony where you dance, sidestep around a tree and a fire, and you sing a song, and there's no drum. It's just everybody holding hands and shuffling around the tree. And
is that the Crow people's ceremony?
No, the leader is Shoshone, and but it's some people would maybe say it was derivative of the ghost dance, but it's a separate ceremony called the Naraya, and the leader is Clyde Hall, and it's Shoshone elder, and like you were saying, sometimes you're doing something and you don't know why. Well, way into this dance, I remember Gemini just coming over the hill, and this one song was going on forever. This is the second or third night of the dance, and this one song went on forever. And we started out with 67 people, and people would fall out, and they'd have visions, and people would doctor them and tend to them, and then they'd sit to the side, and this went on for hours. And I remember thinking, like you said, what's the point of this? I could be meditating or reading or doing different things. And about 10 minutes later, I started to say, oh, okay, maybe there is something to this. And then we got into an altered state. And then finally, there were only 6 of us standing when the elders finally said, okay, we're done. And And it had been such a long and arduous night that everybody scattered. They were all staying in cabins around this campground. And they were in groups of 2 and 10 and 5, and they all scattered. And I was standing in the middle of the ceremony ground, feeling really lost. I'm really used to being alone. I'm very comfortable alone, but I was feeling really lonely and like I needed to share with somebody, but everybody had disappeared. And I went back to my vehicle and laid down, and I had another vision, very, very powerful one, very specific. This is one of those things that is personal. I would share it if somebody wanted to ask me about it, but I'm not going to talk about it on the program. But this message told me that I was supposed to travel and teach, which is totally, I mean, I had a different plan for my life. I wanted to get a lot of land with a bunch of people. And this has been my dream for 35 years. And I've been saving hard towards that. But this vision was so powerful and strong that I knew I had to look at it. And I kind of tried to put it to the side for quite a while. And I'd pray for signs, Creator, is this really what you want me to pursue? And the signs would show up like immediately. Very often it'd be an eagle, but not like just an eagle flying off over there, but eagle in the tree right above me. It was getting harder and harder to avoid this. I didn't feel like I particularly had a lot to teach. I feel like I'm a student on the path, and I am still. But the message was so clear that, and I went back on the hill and got a very potent sign, and I couldn't deny it any longer. So that's how I ended up, putting my tools in storage and traveling around. It's been like 8 years now. So
yeah. So what was the first? Before I ask you this question, but one of the things I want to say about Nathan is, he's like, I think that his biggest gifts are, with teaching on the path is, staying attentive, also being a leader, but allowing other people that want to give medicine a chance to do medicine as well. And he is teaching men, because you end up attracting a lot of men who are kind of still crazy and kind of abusive and angry and hostile. And you give them room and space to soften. And we love Nathan. Nathan, I'm sure Nathan kind of reminds me, like, even though he's really compassionate, like if you really, really made him mad, I mean, obviously Standing Bear, he's going to stand up. But for the most part, we would giggle about get your girl on, because, things would happen and Nathan be like crying, his big heart and stuff. And so we were giving him love.
Thanks, Bridget.
I know, but it's true. That's one of the things that I liked most about you. Like if there was a situation that really needed heart and love and really needed somebody connected with it, even though there are all these people at this 6-day event, you were there, and you were wide open and you gave, 100% of your heart and really oversaw everything and made sure everything was wonderful and the teachings were good and really supported people. And other thing too I really liked was you're a good connector, because there would be people struggling with stuff, and you would, kind of drag them over to someone else who you felt like had the answers and kind of connect them up so they could get some personal work done with someone. And so really you put a huge amount of effort. Sometimes the background work is the toughest work. It's easy sometimes to be the show person or the showman and come in and save the day or the ceremony or whatever, but to be the person who's making it all run smoothly, making sure that their heart's wide open, they stay out of a lot of judgment while people are reacting in ways that they're going to react, because sometimes this stuff sets people off. It hits up against their mirror and they don't really like what they see, and they can go kind of bat crap crazy. And sometimes that can just be part of what happens. And you just really just have lots of compassion and love, and you want to see everybody in their highest and greatest. And so that's like a power. That's your superhero power. So I think you're great at what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So when was your first lodge that you set up, and how did you get started thinking about a lot of that stuff? Because now, how many lodges you do a year in the same spots?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah.
My agreement with Spirit is I just go wherever I'm asked. So if I'm asked to show up someplace, I go, and I don't have a plan. There are two events that I host that are regular events that I actually, consciously plan for. And in the spring, I've been hosting a Humblecha camp, a Vision Quest camp, and it's an opportunity for people to come and go out on the hill with people in camp, praying for them and supporting them, and in a good way, and just kind of protecting them, watching over them. So I've been doing that for a number of years, and also have created an event which was a vision that was shared by myself and my favorite teacher, Bob Center, called Celebration of the Elements. And we've been doing that in the fall in Grass Valley. And so those two are the main events that I do. The other ones are, like you said, I've helped people build sweat lodges around the West, and when I'm asked, I go and I just do some teachings and do a lodge and sing songs with them, and the lodges are there for other people to use as well, and the Celebration of the Elements event, like you say, I'm a facilitator. I create a venue, and a lot of the people that come are elders and teachers, and that's one of the reasons I think it's so successful. It's not one person. It's not me. I have a few things to teach, but not that awful much. But I do have a lot of friends who are elders and teachers who are happy to come and share what they know. And sometimes it's hard to tell the line where the elders and the novices begin, because we learn from everybody. And the Celebration of the Elements event for this year just ended a couple of weeks ago, and it was just really wonderful. It was magical. And because of the people that show up, it had very little to do with me. I created a venue for it, and it had a life of its own. Spirit drove it and carried it. So.
Yeah, and I think we have some video from. Did you guys do the water wheel ceremony, Marshall Jack's water wheel ceremony? So the videos is the activation of the vortex for the water, right. The healing of the water, and changing the water worldwide. Awesome. And so, what song? I'm going to have my producer get ready to show that video. So I'm preparing. So this is so when you do a water wheel, basically you kind of build it from the inside out, and you put certain types of crystals to activate the grid, 7 to be exact, based on the star pattern that Marshall Jack saw from the grandmother that came out of Lake Tahoe and told him what he was going to do. And then you fill in cornmeal. You draw the symbol on the ground and you fill it in with different kinds of cornmeal. And then you have a center altar where you put water. People can bring water from all over, and the water's combined into a jar. And the crystals, there's more crystals that are put into the jar. And I don't know if you guys did it this year, but last year Marshall had one of the oldest grandmothers there, Claire, actually give us all the water. We all drink it together the next day at the second water ceremony, because I think we had 2 water ceremonies because Marshall was there. He wasn't dead yet. And then what happens is when the wheel is done, the water wheel is done, then people dance around it in one direction and then come back in the other direction with songs, prayers, and it helps to activate the crystals that activate a vortex that help water in that area, and also restore creeks and streams and rain and snow that actually communicates with the water and purifies it as it comes. So in the video, this is from this year's ceremony, activating the water wheel that we're going to show, that my producer is going to show to you. What song are they singing? Is there a particular song?
We had some amazing singers come. I'm really lucky. I get to sit at several drums around the country during the year, and the 2 guys that are in the video are really excellent singers, wonderful singers. Really grateful that they came. I don't know the name of the song. This is one that they picked for the ceremony. So
okay. All right. Well, it's interesting because everybody does different songs for different activations, because some of us only know a couple. We're a one-horse song kind of person like me. So we like ceremonies where people have lots of songs. So anyway, producer, are you there? Can you roll that video for us of the activation of the water wheel ceremony at the Elemental Water Ceremony Day at Nathan's Lodge in Grass Valley? Oh, cut out. Okay. Do we have a better link, Nathan, for the video?
I can just email. I can email the video to him if you want.
Yeah. So do what? Anyway, this is Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, and I'm finishing the conversation that I've been having with Nathan Standing Bear, and we're just going to get some information from him. So, Nathan, how do people support you? If they wanted to donate, help you with some resources, how could they go about doing that?
Well, if you're on Facebook, you can get hold of me. My name is Nathan Standing Bear, and that's my personal page. And I also have a closed group, which is called One Earth Family. So if you friend me on Nathan Standing Bear and ask me to be invited to One Earth Family, you will know all about whatever ceremonies and whatever work that I'm doing. So you can start with that. The webpage is oneearthfamily.org. It's a little sparse, but I'll work on it. I live in my truck, so I can't always work on the internet. But Facebook is a good way. And
you have a website? Yeah,
oneearthfamily.org. And I also would like to mention that the celebration of the elements is going to be traveling. Right now, we have plans to go to England in 2017, and I've also been invited to North Carolina. And as I said, wherever I'm asked to go, I go. If there's people that are interested in what I have to share, and hopefully get other elders and other people to show up as well. And so, yeah, get in touch. Nathan at oneearthfamily.org is also my email address.
And because it's it's a service organization, it means that it's donation based. So in order for you to get where you need to go and you need to do the work, and so people can host you, which means they give you kind of a place to stay. They give you the area in which you can do the specific ceremonies. And then also, usually like food is provided, and everybody usually eats as a group. It's very important. And then it's all donation based for the people that come if they feel led to give. And this is how Nathan continues his work, because he doesn't get a paycheck, and he depends on people to help him do the work that he needs to do. And I just want to say, from a personal standpoint, having kind of helped attend a lot of medicine people, and that this kind of work is sometimes a little bit underrated. People that travel and do ceremonies and provide medicine to heal areas, there's a lot of healing that needs to be done to the earth right now, huge amounts. And people live in their cars and they go from place to place, then they're led. The earth gives us and helps us, and the spirit world helps us, but it doesn't, in this modern day time, it doesn't give us the cash that we need to pay our bills. In the olden days, I was talking to a very old shaman man, and he said in the olden days, from his grandfather, they had what was called the begging bowl, and they would put it outside of their teepee, a big bowl or flat thing that they could tell the people in their tribe, like, hi, I need some resources now. And people would put dried meats or dried fish or fruits and vegetables or medicinal plants or handmade moccasins, lots of different things in this bowl so that it was full. So not always do people like Nathan or other people that are doing this work have an opportunity, put the bowl outside of their tent. So whenever they're showing up to do this work, they're basically providing this bowl to you, and so that it can be filled up and replenished so that they can go to the next place and fill up and replenish whatever ceremonies that they need to bring, or the air or the water, or whatever healing that needs to come, so that they can make it there and they're taken care of.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's really difficult in my position to emphasize that I need help, because it sounds like I'm asking people to give me money or something. But what's really part of the Native traditions, and they don't even have to discuss it, is the cycle of giving and receiving. It's really embedded in their tradition. And when I do these teachings, sometimes a lot of natives come, and when they do, they'll come 7, 8 people in a small car. I know they don't have a lot of money, but they are so generous because the whole idea is that if you receive something, if you really want to get the benefit, the blessing of it, that you have to give something of yourself. And in modern society, we're so programmed to get what we can for as little as possible that we kind of miss that. And to miss that is really missing out on a huge blessing, because giving and being part of that cycle is huge. And thank you so much for emphasizing that. For anybody that does good work, if you want to get the true blessing of it, you have to give something of yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, and in this modern time, for like you or me or anybody else to get where we need to go, it costs fuel. There's no like natural place that we can go fill up our gas tank and then go. In the olden days, people had horses. The earth gave them transportation in order for them to get from one place to another. They also could eat along the way. They could forage. Animals would cross their path that would say, hey, please eat me, I'm sacrificing my life for you and your work and my journey. And in modern times we don't have that, because everything is generated by money. And hopefully we're moving closer and closer to a time period where we're not going to be so reliant upon a lot of that stuff. But right now, in order for the healing work and the medicine work to get done, we really need to have some cash donations. We really need to be taken care of in that way, because sometimes we have to travel a long way to get on an airplane, $3,000 to go to England, so you need to have people who help to sponsor that work. And there are places in Europe that medicine people really, really need to be at, and ceremonies need to happen, like places like Normandy, where there was lots of blood sacrifice of humans and war and rage and hostility. Those energies are still stuck there. Medicine people need to travel around the world now so that we can actually release those energies, and so we can at least neutralize it, bring it back into balance, and then we can co-create something else on top of it. But sometimes there's just layers and layers and layers of angers and violence and hatred, and that needs to be cleared out of the way. And this is what medicine people do. This is what their ceremonies help to provide, so that we can actually recreate something. So the medicine and shamanic people who are traveling right now, they're like the big unsung heroes that people don't even really understand what they're doing. And it's probably the most important job right now on planet Earth. That's how I see it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you, Nathan. And we'll let you get back on with your day again.
Okay. Well,
and we'll talk to you
Thank
soon.
you very much.
Blessings. Bye-bye. Thanks, Nathan.
Bye.
So anyway, that was Nathan Standing Bear, and he gave you all his information. You can find him on Facebook, Nathan Standing Bear. You can friend him there. Then he can also add you to the One Earth Family group, which is a closed group where he posts a lot of where he's going to be doing ceremonies. And then he also has his website, oneearthfamily.org. So catch up with him, and beautiful person, beautiful spirit, beautiful energy. I'm glad that he's actually doing this work for us and with us. So one of the things I wanted to say in closing is I wanted to, since this is Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, that this program is going to be aired, and not just in America will it be aired, but I want to specifically kind of target Americans. Walking the path, I have friends that are Paiute. One of my friends in particular, when we started becoming friends, kind of told me a story about Thanksgiving. Native people look at American Thanksgiving as the day of slaughter, basically. The rape and slaughter of not only their people, but of their spirits, of their food, their animals, their welfare. And so Thanksgiving kind of is the moment where all of that started to happen in America. So that's kind of like how they look at it, because Christopher Columbus was a murderer. He murdered Indian people, and he was the start with the people that he was with to this mass slaughter of indigenous people in the Americas. And history says that they went from 66 million prospering native peoples and tribes into a very short period of time down to 6 million, where people were literally shot and massacred. Whole tribes were shot and massacred. And then they were herded onto land that they did not have a relationship to. It did not provide them the same food that they're used to. They didn't know what medicinal plants were good. So it's been a very hard time for Native people. But the story she told me was about when she was a young girl and she had to go to white school. And every year she had a white teacher. And every year she would go to school, and Thanksgiving would come around and she would get lots and lots of anxiety because Thanksgiving, performing these little Thanksgiving child shows, were showcasing Indians in dress they would never wear, in ways that they were not. And it never really showed the truth of what happened to the indigenous people. And she said one of the most scarring things to her as a woman, a beautiful Indian woman, was the concept that the American propaganda sold to the white American people as history, and showcased Indians going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Indians don't do that. That's never have really seen it. It's very racist. And there are a lot of songs like One Little, Two Little, Three Little Indian that are totally disrespectful to their heritage and the people who they are. So we have been sold as Americans huge amount of propaganda. When we, have a holiday like Thanksgiving, it is kind of a slap in the face to indigenous people, though they are more understanding than we are. So she told me the story about when she was in school, and she never had an Indian teacher, never had a woman who had long, black, thick hair like herself and dark skin. And when Thanksgiving would come around and all the little things they posted on the walls and the little theaters that they would project, that they would have the students participate in as a turkey and meeting the Indians and the one feather in the hair and the way that they're dressed, was really psychologically harmful for her because she, even at a young age, understood, First Nation history of what had happened to the Indians in America. So it was a very abusive, psychologically damaging situation. And then she said one day, so she's grown up, she hates Thanksgiving. She hates everything about Thanksgiving. Her family, her people, they do not traditionally support Thanksgiving. They do not have Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is usually a ceremonial thing after every ceremony that Indigenous people are involved in, First Nation people. There's always a gift of food and sharing food. So their Thanksgiving is different. She said finally, when she was at a certain age, the school district actually hired a beautiful Indian woman. And that Indian woman teacher never celebrated Thanksgiving, never had that Thanksgiving, theme going on in their classroom. And she said that's when she realized that she could too be a teacher, and that the Indian woman wasn't going to be pressuring her, putting Thanksgiving on her, and forcing her to accept it when her and her people look at it as a slaughter. So she went on to actually get a college education. She also became a teacher because she wanted to be a beautiful, powerful Indian woman in the school district and not force things on people, and to tell the truth historically. And even more astonishing is she is a mathematician, and that's what she teaches in middle school is mathematics. She's brilliant and beautiful, powerful woman. And I was so grateful that she shared her story. Really changed my life around Thanksgiving. And so it's something that I no longer celebrate. So if you're watching this on Thanksgiving, because it's going to be aired live, make sure you offer prayer that at some point we can reach across the table to the indigenous people, and the white people can reach against the table. And you know what? Educate yourself about the real history of America and what's happened into America. Don't just be sold the propaganda, which causes more separation in people. Because we really need each other. And this is a time period where it's me, talk, you, us, and it's all my relations. It's all of us together. And it's one of the things that I'm trying to really showcase on my show. So anyway, maybe happy Thanksgiving in a new way. So anyway, hopefully you'll have a great day. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much, Nathan Standing Bear, for being on the show. I just love him. I probably cry with him more than anything. It's just so tender. He's just brings out the tenderness too, you know. But anyways, thank you so much. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for supporting the show. Watch the credits. There's our prayer that you can do to help align yourself and your different bodies with all my relations. And then also there's text on how you can support me and the show, donate, or you can set up sessions, private sessions by appointment to help support my work. So thank you so much. Thank you for watching Consciousness of Economics TV show on the Project Camelot Network. And I'm your hostess with the mostest, Bridget Lynn Dolgoff. And have a great, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.